Oil and gas is destroying our country. Oil and gas guys, you need to move to the side and let Elon Musk save us all. He's the Superman of this generation. And Biden is going to lead the path to success in the green energy revolution that was created by Ocasio-Cortez. That's what the world and that's what the news is preaching. But I'm telling you right now, it is garbage, okay? So I'm going to talk about oil prices, and I'm going to talk about the agenda to destroy the fossil fuel industry. I'm Sean Pruitt, president of Kingdom Exploration. If you like oil and gas news, subscribe to my channel. Oil prices today, WTI, $40 a barrel, $41.73 for Brent crude. Oil holds gains as large gasoline draw offsets crude build. In the previous week, the API reported a significant draw in crude oil inventories of 9.5 million barrels after analysts had predicted a smaller draw of 1.2 million barrels. I'm seeing this a lot. Everybody is saying that, hey, we're not using that much oil. And even the API is reporting that, hey, we think we're only going to draw 1.2 million. But turns out they ended up drawing almost 10 times more than that, okay? People are making these crazy estimates because nobody knows what to believe. But the truth, it speaks in itself. 9.5 million draw versus 1.2 million. That's a major difference there. It just goes to show you that most of this information that we read is very biased. Oil prices were trading up mostly on Tuesday before the API's data release, despite the worsening demand sentiment, okay, in the market brought on by reports of increasing coronavirus cases. Another BS statement. Oil production in the United States rose during the last week, but is still down significantly from high 13.1 million barrels a day in March. So we went from producing 13.1 million barrels a day. Now we're down to 10.9 because the shale revolution has come to a head and they're falling apart. Okay. And it's only going to get worse in the coming months as they decline and continue to go bankrupt. The API reported a draw on gasoline inventories of 7.7 million barrels of gasoline for the week ending September 11th, compared to last week, 3.7 million barrel build. Analysts had expected much smaller, 614. So another mistake by the analyst, okay? The truth is that we're using much more oil and gas than what everybody anticipated. Now, look at this guy, all right? I want you to listen to him, and I'll weigh in on it.
Jill and I continued, as I suspect all of you do, is pray for everyone in California, Oregon, and Washington, and across the West as these devastating wildfires rage on, just as we hold them in our hearts, those who have faced the hurricanes, tropical storms off our coast of Florida, North Carolina, or like parts of New Orleans that, in fact, have just been issued an emergency evacuation order for Hurricane
They're probably like, hey,
Sally.
button your jacket,
Floods and
Joe.
droughts across the Midwest. The fury of climate change everywhere. All this year and right now. Donald Trump's climate denial may not have caused these fires and record floods and record hurricanes. But if he gets a second term, these hellish events will continue to become more common, more devastating, and more deadly.
So Joe Biden is constantly putting off the rhetoric that Trump is climate denial. Okay, he's destroying the planet. In 4 more years, it's going to bring destruction to the planet. And he's bringing up the wildfires. He's bringing up the hurricanes, and he's blaming it on the climate crisis, global warming. It's all because of fossil fuels. It's oil and gas. That's the rhetoric they keep preaching. And this is on, if you go to Joe Biden Clean Energy link on his website. Just as with COVID-19, Donald Trump has denied science and failed to step up in the face of the climate crisis. He has called it a hoax. He has allowed our infrastructure to deteriorate and farmers' fields to flood. He has held back American workers from leading the world on clean energy, giving China, okay, remember China, and other countries a free pass to outcompete us in key technologies. Okay, so in other words, hey, Donald Trump's an idiot, and because of that, we're not making leaps and bounds in green tech, and we're allowing people like China to surpass us. Okay, well, let's take a look at China. China has 2.2 million total electric vehicles. That's 1.6 electric cars per 1,000 people, as where America has 3.4 electric cars per 1,000 people. So we have almost 3 times more electric vehicles than China does, okay? Now, if China's surpassing us, why do we have more electric cars than they do per person, okay? Now, here's the thing. These are all the oil imports by country. China imports more oil than any other country in the world. Granted, they do have more people, but they also have a lot less drivers. They consume much more oil than any other country in the world. And Biden's going to tell the world, hey, China has surpassed us in green technology because Trump doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, look at that guy. All right, so here's something else I wanted to bring up. Hollywood is constantly preaching about climate change, constantly preaching about how the fossil fuels are evil. This is what they spoke at the Golden Globe Awards.
Russell Crowe could not be here with us tonight because he is at home in Australia protecting his family from the devastating bushfires. He sent along this message in case he won. Make no mistake, the tragedy unfolding in Australia is climate change based. We need to act based.
Make no mistake. The fires in Australia are climate change based. I'm not going to let you watch all this BS. It's ridiculous. She's reading from a script. It's unbelievable. I like Jennifer Aniston, but I just can't believe she's fallen for this thing. And these people, the people that watch this are a younger generation. That's why they believe all these things, okay? If they can't get a politician, if they don't believe a politician, they're using actors, and it's unbelievable. This is the rhetoric that they're constantly pushing. The agenda is anti-fossil fuels, anti-Trump, pro-Biden, pro-green technology, and it's a big lie, okay? Now, the fact that Hollywood has stolen the hearts of our children, has stolen the attention of our children. Nancy Pelosi knows this, and that's why she's pushing the idea of having a younger voting age at 16. Listen to what she has to say.
I myself, personally, I'm not speaking for my caucus, I myself have always been for lowering the voting age to 16.
And I wonder why. Because Nancy knows that the younger mind is easier to manipulate. And everything they click on, TikTok, Instagram, Hollywood, all these Hollywood actors that they follow are preaching, hey, global warming is real. Of course a child cares about their world. Of course they care about their environment. But we're just these evil, money-hungry, power-hungry, dirty fossil fuels kind of people, and they're brainwashed and they believe this. I'm fighting with some of my kids in my home now. They're all Trump supporters, but they're all oil and gas supporters. But on some things, they just don't know any better because they're listening to the lies. And so, I'm glad I'm here to teach them. But there's a lot of parents that just leave their kids on autopilot. They go to school, they drop their kids off at school, and they talk to their peers, and peer pressure nowadays pressures them. Not, when I was a kid, it was they pressured me into sex and drugs. Nowadays, they pressure you into politics, and they pressure you into becoming a Democrat and supporting the renewable energy accord. And so that I get attacked all the time on YouTube by these young people that know nothing about the fossil fuel industry. Moving on here. So this is a good article on Forbes. The reason renewables can't power modern civilization because they were never meant to. Okay. There's a lot of good information in here that I'm not going to read the whole thing, but with Germany as an inspiration, the United Nations and the World Bank poured billions into renewables like wind, solar, and hydro in developing nations like Kenya. But last year, Germany was forced to acknowledge that it had to delay its phase out of coal. It would not meet its 2020 greenhouse gas reduction commitments and announced plans to bulldoze an ancient church and forest in order to get the coal underneath it. Okay, so they spent trillions of dollars on green tech, but they're still having to mine coal. I wonder why. Because green technology just doesn't work. But Germany didn't just fall short of its climate targets. Its emissions have flatlined since 2009. So they haven't increased in the quality of their air at all. Over the past 5 years alone, the energy widen has cost Germany $36 billion annually in opposition to renewables and growing in the German countryside. Okay. Meanwhile, the 20-year subsidies granted to wind, solar, and biogas since 2000 will start coming to an end next year. The wind power boom is over, Der Spiegel concludes, all of which raises the question if renewables can't cheaply power Germany, one of the richest and most technologically advanced countries in the world, how could a developing nation like Kenya ever expect to leapfrog fossil fuels? So if Germany can't make it happen, then how can any other country make that happen? I mean, they were the best foot moving forward for green technology, and it failed, and they fell on their faces. Okay, it fell apart. Now, if you look at the top countries for renewable energy, Germany was number one, and that's who I started to research. But the UK, Sweden, all of them are having the same issues. Okay, now this is a great article. I'm not going to go through this, but it's called "A Botched Job in Germany." Read it. If you don't believe that if you really believe green technology is the wave of the future, read this. In other words, it gives you more proof and evidence that green tech cannot replace fossil fuels. Everybody truly believes that Elon Musk is going to come in and save the day, and his green tech is going to replace all fossil fuels. And he kept making these statements, hey, I've got a new battery, it's going to be a lot cheaper, and I'm going to produce 20 million cars a year because of this. See, the bottleneck is the battery, and you have to mine the lithium from the ground. It is a non-renewable resource, just like fossil fuels. Okay. Now here's the thing. Today they're building electric cars, and they are affordable. But the problem is there's not enough places to plug them in. That's the number one problem. But hey, it's going to fix everything, right? And the number two problem is the only reason why you could afford a Tesla is because of all the subsidies and for the fact that it's on a small scale. Now you ramp that up to 20 million cars a year. Now you're having to compete with Samsung. You're having to compete with all the cell phone manufacturers that are competing for the lithium. And now that lithium price skyrockets. Now you're going to be paying, instead of paying $1,000 for a cell phone, you're going to be spending $2,000 to $3,000. Now instead of paying $80,000 for Tesla, you're going to be spending $150,000. Okay. Now, and then charging stations are going to be much more expensive because the infrastructure isn't there, and the infrastructure is going to cost trillions of dollars to replace. Our infrastructure is old. It needs to be replaced. Half of the electricity from where the electricity is created, by the time it gets to your house, you lose about 50% of it because the grid needs to be replaced. How in the world, if everybody had a Tesla, we already don't have enough electricity as it is. And if everyone had a Tesla and charging it at night, we wouldn't have enough electricity. And that's when everybody uses it. So try to use a solar power panel to generate that much electricity. I mean, Germany didn't have a chance. And so look here, Tesla's value drops $50 billion as Battery Day disappoints. Tesla's market cap dropped $20 billion in just 2 hours on Tuesday following the car and the batteries maker's Battery Day reveal, in which CEO Elon Musk laid out plans to produce a cheaper, lower cost battery build at 25,000 electric car and eventually produce 20 million vehicles a year, but not until 2023. So they just put that sucker off. It ain't happening, guys. You can't, on a small scale, yes, you can, okay? But in a massive grand scale, to mine that much lithium, competing with Samsung and all the major cell phone manufacturers, and to develop that much infrastructure to have all those electric cars all over the world, our grid cannot sustain it, okay? Fossil fuels, the demand for fossil fuels is growing. Regardless of what you read, regardless of what you believe, the demand for fossil fuels is here, and we are on oil and gas production destruction because everyone and their mother is jumping ship, and they're putting trillions of dollars into green technology. And when they disappoint and they find out it really doesn't work, then we fall back on fossil fuels, just like when Germany did it and other countries. And then all of a sudden, our demand for oil is higher than what we're producing, causing oil prices to skyrocket. This is what Russia's doing. This is what Saudi Arabia is doing. And British Petroleum is on their coattails, preaching, hey, we hit demand, peak demand, which is a total bogus lie. I mean, Saudi Arabia is one of BP's biggest investors, and British Petroleum is one of Russia's biggest investors. I mean, they're all working together. All right, guys, I'm Sean Pruitt, president of Kingdom Exploration. If you have any questions, feel free to call me. We're developing oil and gas properties, and I'd love for you to take a look at our oil projects. And if you like this channel, please subscribe. Thanks.